Amid Trump's public claims of productive peace talks, did the U.S. and Israel secretly target one of Iran's most sensitive nuclear sites? U.S. and Israeli projectiles were reported near the Bushehr nuclear complex for the second time in days, raising global concerns. As the UN's nuclear watchdog and global health agencies warn that strikes near reactors could spiral out of control, has the Middle East war entered a dangerous nuclear risk phase? If another near miss turned into a direct hit, would U.S. and Israeli attacks be gambling with a potential disaster that could put the entire Gulf region at risk? Iran said that its Bushehr nuclear power plant came under joint U.S.-Israeli attacks on March 24, during ongoing hostilities in the region. According to Iranian media reports, a projectile struck the nuclear compound, but authorities stated that no structural damage was recorded at the site. The official IRNA news agency reported that the attack caused no financial losses, no technical damage to the facility, and no human casualties. Iran's Atomic Energy Organization condemned the strike, calling it a blatant violation of international regulations governing the safety of nuclear facilities. The International Atomic Energy Agency also raised the alarm after Iran reported the incident, noting concerns over any military action near nuclear sites. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi reiterated his call for maximum restraint from all parties in order to avoid creating serious nuclear safety and security risks. The reported attack on Bushehr came at the same time as President Trump was claiming that the US and Iran were engaged in talks to bring the war to an end. Meanwhile, US War Secretary Pete Hegseth said that Washington is negotiating with Iran using bombs, framing ongoing strikes as pressure on Tehran.
We're having, by the way, a tremendous success, as you know, in Iran. We had one in Venezuela, and now we're having one in Iran. They have no Navy left. They have no Air Force left. They have no anti-aircraft equipment left, no radar left, no leaders left. The leaders are all gone. Nobody knows who to talk to. But we're actually talking to the right people, and they want to make a deal so badly. You have no idea how badly they want to make a deal.
Never in history has a modern military, Iran had a modern military, a modern navy, a modern air force, modern air defenses, leadership, massive bunker. Never has a modern military been so rapidly and historically obliterated, defeated, from day one with overwhelming firepower. The air campaign that we've conducted, that Israel's conducted alongside us, was one for the history books, truly. And it's because we have a president of the United States that when he sends his warfighters out to fight, he unties their hands to actually go out and close with and destroy the enemy as viciously as possible from moment one. And that's why we see ourselves as part of this negotiation as well. We negotiate with bombs. You have a choice as we loiter over the top of Tehran, as the president talked about your future. The president has made it clear that you will not have a nuclear weapon. The War Department agrees. Our job is to ensure that. And so we're keeping our hand on that throttle as long as hard as is necessary to ensure the interests of the United States of America are achieved on that battlefield. This is not Iraq and Afghanistan. This is not a president who's interested in vague end states. He's been very clear with us about what we need to accomplish, creating the conditions for them never to have a nuclear capability, and that's exactly what we're doing in historic fashion. Thank you, Mr. President.
This was the second time in days that the Bushehr nuclear plant and its surrounding area had reportedly come under attack. The IAEA previously confirmed that a structure located about 350 meters from the Bushehr reactor was destroyed in an earlier strike on March 17th. Experts quoted by Al Jazeera warn that any deliberate or accidental strike on the Bushehr plant could trigger a major radiation crisis, with serious consequences spreading far beyond Iran's borders. Earlier, the IAEA cautioned that a direct hit on Bushehr would likely result in a very high release of radioactivity into the environment, making it one of the most dangerous possible targets in the entire region. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi has stressed that Bushehr holds thousands of kilograms of nuclear material, warning that any damage to its core systems could rapidly escalate into a full-blown nuclear emergency. In a worst-case scenario, Grossi says authorities could be forced to issue evacuation orders for areas extending several hundred kilometers from the plant, potentially displacing populations across multiple Gulf states. A former IAEA inspector said, quote, "It would be very dangerous if it were hit with a bomb or the cooling systems are interrupted. You might get an accident on the scale of Fukushima, where the reactor would melt down inside its building and maybe release small amounts of gas to the environment," unquote. Nuclear experts warn that a strike on the two main power lines supplying electricity to the Bushehr facility could cause its core reactor to melt, triggering a catastrophic failure of the plant's critical safety systems. Bushehr, located about 750 kilometers south of Tehran on Iran's Gulf Coast, is the country's only commercial nuclear power plant and a central pillar of its civilian energy program. A direct hit on the plant itself could lead to dangerous radiation leaks and widespread contamination risks, not only for Iran but also for neighboring Gulf nations downwind and along shared coastlines. Analysts caution that an attack on Bushehr could also contaminate a key source of desalinated drinking water drawn from the Gulf, threatening the primary water lifeline for millions of people. U.S. allies Qatar and Bahrain are almost entirely dependent on desalinated water for their drinking supply, leaving them especially vulnerable if radiation were to spread through Gulf waters. The United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia are also heavily reliant on desalinated water to meet the needs of their major cities, meaning any long-term contamination could create a severe regional water security crisis. In June 2025, after more than a week of repeated Israeli air raids, the United States joined the campaign and bombed 3 major Iranian nuclear sites, dramatically escalating the confrontation over Tehran's nuclear program. At the time, Donald Trump boasted that these coordinated strikes had obliterated key nuclear facilities at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan, portraying the operation as a decisive blow against Iran's nuclear infrastructure. However, subsequent checks by the UN nuclear watchdog and regional authorities found no increase in radiation levels outside the targeted sites, suggesting that while the facilities were heavily damaged, radioactive material did not leak into surrounding areas.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.